So we want to come up with a way. I understand there's also a push for more electric trucks too. So as we evolve into a more electric vehicle fleet, we want to make it as efficient and as reasonable as possible, and of course fair too. I mean, all taxation and fees should be fair.
Well, Senator Rothman, I want to start out just kind of broadly. This is a new law, previously Bill SB 656, now, as I understand it, Act 85 of 2024. Kind of speaking from the 30,000-foot altitude level, what will this new law do?
So there has been in place an alternative fuel tax, which in Pennsylvania, if you buy gasoline, you pay a gas tax, and that funds our roads and bridges. If you drive an electric car or a hybrid, you don't pay as much. An electric car, you don't pay any actual gas tax, but you're supposed to be paying a alternative fuel tax. So the bill eliminates the alternative fuel tax, which was very cumbersome, and frankly, not many people were actually paying it. It was a self-reporting. You have to do it every month. You keep track of the amount of electricity you use for your car and then pay a rate based on that. So we've eliminated that, and we've come up with a flat fee for passenger vehicles, for your personal vehicle, if it's electric, of $200 a month. We actually calculated that the typical driver of a car in Pennsylvania pays about $380 a year in gas tax. But we've created this registration fee. Next year, it'll go to $250, sorry, the following year, and then it will be tied to the consumer price index. We've also have, if you drive a hybrid, you'll pay a quarter of that. So $50 the first year and $62.50 for the subsequent year after that. So it's, we see a push for more electric vehicles. The high-end manufacturers of cars are announcing they're only making electric vehicles. And yet in Pennsylvania, because of the way we fund our roads and bridges and care for them, which is an essential core role of government, we had to figure out a way to make sure that we're getting that money. So, and people who drive electric vehicles want to pay for the roads too.
It's a law now, but I'm curious, when it was in the legislature, what was the level of support that you saw there?
Yeah, we ended up in the Senate. I can speak way more about the Senate because that's where I am. I think we ended up having 44 votes, 43 or 44 votes. So that's pretty broad bipartisan support. The chairman of the transportation committees, both the Republican and Democrat, were in favor of the bill and supported the bill, and I'm grateful for their support. So it's a bipartisan bill, and the House was a little different. There were folks on either ends of the spectrum. More conservative members voted no, and some of the environmental legislators voted no as well. So. But I think has broad support, and clearly the governor signed it. He understands how important it is to make sure that we take care of our infrastructure.
I want to get into a little more of the details of this new law, and the first thing is, would this fee apply for cars only, for any electric powered vehicle, or commercial trucks included?
Commercial trucks are not included. They will still pay the alternative fuel tax based on electricity use. It's a little easier for them to monitor it because it's a business operation. Does not cover golf carts. Doesn't cover electric. I think we even exempted electric motorcycles, electric boats. So we're really talking about the people's personal cars they use.
Okay.
We even exempted, by the way, rental cars, which don't pay anything now. They don't pay registration fees now, and or they get credits for the registration fees. So they'll continue to receive that waiver.
Did you look at what other states are doing in regard to this issue as you considered the bill and kind of put it together?
Yeah.
And if so, what did you find?
So yeah, I began working on this 5 years ago when I was in the House. I saw the need as there's more and more push to have electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are heavier. They do just as much damage to our roads and bridges, and we thought that it was important that they had an opportunity to pay their fair share too. So we did look at other states. One of the criticisms of our bill is that it's now the second highest in the country. But you got to keep in mind that Pennsylvania has the second highest or third highest gas tax in the country too. So we have a decision was made in our legislature and in our state government before I ever got there that we were not going to fund transportation out of the general fund because it became too easy of a target. When you have competing interests to say, well, we're just not going to put any money in the roads this year. We're going to put it into this social service or this entitlement program or this tax benefit or this corporate welfare. And so we have a dedicated source to pay for our roads and bridges, and it is through the tax on users. In this case, gas. When you buy your gas, you pay the gas tax in Pennsylvania. So we wanted to protect that dedicated source because, I believe that roads and bridges in Pennsylvania are core function of government and we should be taking care of them.
You've mentioned a couple of times kind of the nature of how the state funds transportation and specifically roads and bridges. I'm curious what the current state of the state's highway funding is. Is the state bringing in enough to cover everything that needs to be done? Is there somewhat of a deficit? Kind of where are things right now?
Yeah, I mean, my feeling is I'm a member of the Transportation Committee in the Senate. I spent several terms on the Transportation Committee in the House. I have a pretty good idea. We don't have enough money. And what ends up happening is, you just put off what you should be doing. So I'm constantly looking for opportunities to find more money for the transportation. Now we got a big federal just heard last week, big federal um, funds coming from the federal government for a bridge we have, but it's a $1 billion bridge, and we're going to get $500,000 from the feds. So it goes a long way, but we'd like to see a federal infrastructure plan. I know there was discussion in the previous administration, even before COVID came out, but after COVID, that sort of got put on the back burner. So we've made some major steps in the legislature since I've gotten there. We've moved money that was coming out of the motor license fund that was going to the state police, which certainly is an important role. They have an important role to play in transportation because they protect our roads. But I felt, and other members felt, that should not come out of money that was going into roads and bridges. So I think it's about $800 million over the last 6-7 years. We've moved out of the going directly from the state police out of the motor license fund, and instead we fund them in the general fund. So we have to continue to look at ways to fund our roads and bridges, and I just think it's something that ends up getting neglected when you have competing interests for a finite amount of resources.
I want to get back to kind of the mechanics from the individual user perspective. Obviously, people who have electric vehicles are going to have to pay this fee. Does the bill kind of go into how the money will be collected, and if so, how?
Yeah, so in Pennsylvania, you pay a registration fee. You can pay one year or 2 years at a time on the anniversary of your registration. So it's different. In theory, you have people paying every month based on when they purchase their car, when they put their car into service, and that's the time that you can pay when you have to pay your electrical vehicle fee as well. Now, we do allow them to pay it in quarters. You can set up on a payment plan, and if you want to pay it in lump sum for 2 years, you can do that also.
Is there any information collected when the fee is going to be collected? And if so, what kind of information will the state be gathering with that?
So right now we do when you do your registration annually, you have to list your proof of insurance, because we do require that if your car is registered in Pennsylvania, that you have insurance for the vehicle. And we also we do keep track of your miles. You have to put the miles of your car, and I guess technically that's to safeguard on, for to protect future consumers too. But those are the two issues: your insurance and and then of course if your address has changed and we want your home address, then title needs to match up with the address of the property, or the address of the vehicle owner, that there's an address for them too. That's all that we collect now.
Okay. I want to kind of go back to the large commercial vehicles because, as you mentioned, they're still under this alternative fuels tax that existed previously for cars. And of course, the large truck drivers, our audience there, um, since they're going to continue to pay under that system, how is that money collected?
Yeah, so every month you have to fill out a form and file it with the Department of Revenue, and it's alternative fuels tax. You calculate how much electricity you used, and it's a factor. You pay a price per kilowatt. I don't know the exact amount for trucks, but it's arduous, it's cumbersome. And I think we should be doing everything we can to make life easier for our truck drivers. So I would be interested in doing something to make their lives easier, maybe to make it a little more efficient how you do it. But it's different because we have trucks that come through the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that aren't registered here. We have a lot of trucks coming through the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and God bless them. And we need our truck drivers. We need more truck drivers. And there's a lot of distribution, especially in the area I represent in central Pennsylvania. I have both the Navy distribution center is based right in the middle of my district, and then not far from me is the Army over in New Cumberland. So we have two distribution centers, lots of highways running through where I represent: 81 and 83, US 15, US 11, Turnpike. And there are a lot of trucks on those roads, and we depend on them to feed us and get us all of our goods and services. And I tell people, when you order something on Amazon and you get it the next day, it didn't fall from the sky. It was delivered by a truck driver. So we want to come up with a way. I understand there's also a push for more electric trucks too. So as we evolve into a more electric vehicle fleet, we want to make it as efficient and as reasonable as possible, and of course fair too. I mean, all taxation and fees should be fair.
Excellent. Senator, thank you very much for your time. I sure appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you, and thank you for all your listeners. You've got a state senator in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania who's grateful for our truck drivers, and I just want to mention too, we passed a resolution of mine, almost 45 votes in the Senate, to urge the federal government to allow CDL drivers that aren't 21 yet to right now. You could drive from the southeastern corner of Pennsylvania to the northeastern corner of Pennsylvania, 643 miles or something, 463 miles. If you were 20 years old and almost 21 and had a CDL license, you could transfer the whole Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as a truck driver. But if you want to cross over into New Jersey from the southeast, or into West Virginia, or into Ohio, or even into Maryland, you wouldn't be allowed to, even if it's only a 5-mile drive, until you turn 21. And as you know, we need more truck drivers. So I introduced a resolution. It passed the Senate to urge Congress to look into, again, bringing some common sense to government, and allowing if even though you're not 21 yet, that you could still, if you're a CDL license, you could still drive that cross state lines. So anything your listeners, any ideas they have for us, we're here to try to make their lives easier, because we're grateful for all they do.
Fantastic. Thank you again, sir.
Have a great day. Take care.